Welcome to today's Explainer. We're jumping right in because today we are stripping down a seriously dense daily weather report to uncover the gripping story of a nation that is currently battling severe coast-to-coast weather extremes. We're looking at the raw data for today, August 6th, 2026, and it paints a picture of a nation of true extremes. So let's get right into the numbers.
Okay, let's dive into this. 56. That is 56 consecutive days of intense 90-degree plus heat. That's exactly the kind of streak that pushes local power grids to their absolute breaking point and honestly turns just stepping outside into a genuine health hazard. Miami is hitting that staggering, record-tying milestone today. And while that number is an absolute crisis all on its own, it really just sets the stage for a nationwide pattern of relentless weather that we're seeing in the data. Because today isn't just about high temperatures in one isolated area. The U.S. is facing compounding extremes. We're talking heat domes, oppressive humidity, severe storms, and critical fire weather. It's like a giant puzzle, and we're going to break down exactly how these systems are stacking up to create hazardous conditions virtually everywhere you look on the map. Let's start with Section 1, the oppressive East and South. Here, the story is all about exhaustion and the total lack of overnight relief. And this brilliantly illustrates what I mean. Think about New York City and Washington, D.C. On paper, 85 or 88 degrees might just look, moderately hot. But the severe heat indexes, literally pushing toward 100 degrees in New York, and the highly unstable, humid atmospheres, those are the real threats. Down in New Orleans, an air temperature of 94 actually feels like 105 degrees. And to make matters worse, look at northern New Jersey down at the bottom. The ground there is completely saturated from overnight flash flooding, making any additional storms a massive, massive risk.
But you know what the real danger is here? It lies in these stubborn overnight lows staying in the lower 70s. This means the heat doesn't reset. If you were uncomfortable on Thursday, well, that discomfort carries straight into Friday. This lack of nighttime cooling across the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic makes the heavy humidity inescapable. It is physically exhausting for anyone without air conditioning. All right, moving on to Section 2, the volatile middle. We are looking at southern heat versus Midwestern storms.
Look at this extreme juxtaposition. Texas is just baking under a massive high-pressure heat dome. Dallas is hitting 100 degrees, sunny, clear, with absolutely 0% chance of rain through next Wednesday. But right next door, on a macro level, a frontal system in the Midwest is triggering heavy rain and severe storms. Chicago is sitting at a muggy 88 degrees but getting hammered by active weather, while Minneapolis is also seeing afternoon storms spark up along that exact same atmospheric boundary.
But the volatility isn't just about heat and rain. Look down at Fargo, North Dakota. They are avoiding the triple-digit heat of Austin and San Antonio, sitting at a much more comfortable 88 degrees. But notice the condition there, breezy with a smoke haze. Intermittent smoke is drifting hundreds of miles from western fires. It's a wild reminder of how interconnected our atmosphere really is, adding a completely new, hazardous layer of complexity right into the middle of the country.
Now let's shift gears to Section 3, the combustible American West. This is all about urgency, dry heat, and fire.
Now what's really interesting about this slide is this single number, 120. That is the temperature defining the landscape in Death Valley today. It firmly anchors the severe heat reality facing California and the broader desert Southwest. We're talking about places like Yuma, pushing 113 degrees, and Las Vegas suffering through its 9th consecutive day at or above 110.
But the geography of this heat is incredibly localized, almost like a microclimate lottery. Coastal California, places shielded by the marine layer, are keeping temperatures at a moderate 88 degrees. But travel just a few miles inland, the Central Valley is baking under severe heat advisories. Redding is spiking to a highly dangerous 107 degrees.
When you combine all these extremes, it builds into a true, undeniable crisis. We aren't just seeing heat. We're seeing extreme heat warnings in Vegas clashing with single-digit humidity and record fuel dryness in the Sierras. Throw in gusty winds, and you literally have a recipe for devastating fire weather across Wyoming. Plus, poor air quality choking regional cities like Spokane and Boise. Heat, dry fuel, and wind are stacking directly on top of each other to create highly combustible conditions across both the Mountain West and the Pacific Northwest. Just read this quote pulled directly from the report. Red flag warnings remain active across Wyoming as single-digit humidity and gusty winds drive critical fire behavior. I want to pause on that for a second. Single-digit humidity. The air is virtually completely devoid of moisture. That alone tells you why the Mountain West is an absolute powder keg today.
So, the absolutely crucial question for all of us is this. With heat domes continually expanding, humidity suffocating the East Coast, and the West burning without any real overnight relief, how long can these persistent extremes last before the weather system finally breaks? It's a lot to take in. Keep an eye on the sky, stay cool out there, and thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. See you next time.